I'd like to begin our presentation today with a very simple question, and it's really based upon the question that we raised in the title of our presentation, and that is, how can your company innovate without going broke? In this environment, it's a very risky environment, and as Terry and I put together our presentation for this group today, we came up with two words, and we have some tools to support it, and that really is thinking differently about innovation, thinking differently about growth, especially in terms of the economic environment that we all face. Rapidly changing, very interconnected, very risky, but on the other hand, very many opportunities in terms of innovating in a very efficient way and driving growth in terms of top line and bottom line and valuation. And Terry will speak upon that later on in the presentation. The presentation is really going to include three elements. One element is a framework that will allow you to take your business strategy, evaluate a growth and innovation strategy, and really refine it, make it more focused and more efficient. A process for doing it in a very simple way to avoid complexity. And then the third component would be a case study. A case study, Reading Bakery Systems. Terry will present a case study on how he had taken that framework, applied it in his organization, and built an organization that is able to innovate more efficiently, less complexity, and he'll show you the results in the process, including, by the way, the valuation results in terms of the value of his business. I'll skip over the bios. The center that I had the center, or direct the center at DePaul University in Chicago, the Center for Strategy, Execution, and Valuation. DePaul University is the largest Catholic university in North America. It has one of the largest MBA programs in North America that's accredited. And the center that I direct is a center that looks at the intersection between business strategy, innovation, and value creation or valuation. And we work with private companies like yourselves as well as large international companies. This is the chart of Terry's company up to 2006. You can see it was really status quo. It had some dips, you know, given the business cycle, but that was the top line experience, right? If you look at what's happened in the last couple of years, and we'll give you an update beyond 2008, because 2008, as we all know, was a very pivotal year for all of us. He grew 150%, and beyond that, he grew beyond that in the last 3 years in terms of in the middle of the global economic financial crisis. You know, we work with management teams, and the center that I direct is really focused on an engagement platform with business leaders like CFOs and CEOs and thought leaders on how to get the most out of their business plans. And we usually look at things very simply. We always say there's two levels of business. There's level one, which is taking care of business today, right? Managing the present business, which takes a lot of energy, right, in today's environment. And then there's level two, which is growing the business and coming up with the innovative offerings that are going to drive profitability and growth going forward. This is the big challenge today, because today it's difficult enough to simply manage the business as we have it today, to survive, if you will. But the big opportunity for organizations, large and small and medium size, is to find those niches of innovation and growth that are going to take the company out of its current situation, its current recession, if you want to call it that, to rebound the company. And that really requires some innovation strategy that's very simple, very not complex, and that can be very action-oriented, can be done very quickly, does not require a long lead time. The book Driven that was mentioned by Alex is a book that we published in 2007. It's based upon a global study of high-performing companies. And those high-performing companies are companies that we studied over a long period of time, and we ended up identifying a common pattern of strategy and execution that these companies had in common, which is the return-driven strategy framework. The research that we did is based upon a comprehensive global study of 15,000 companies globally. Out of 15,000, we identified 100 globally that met our criteria. This panel I have on the screen really shows the parameters that we use. CFOs usually really enjoy this because they say ROI is the top panel. This company had ROIs about 3 or 4 or 5 times the cost of capital over more than a 10-year period. That was one criteria. The second criteria was it had to grow the business and maintain that spread in ROI versus cost of capital. And the criteria, which is an outcome, is it had to outperform the market during that same period of time relative total shareholder returns for public companies. For a private company, it would be multiple of earnings or valuation. This is the framework. I'd like to compare it as an extension of Good to Great. Good to Great will build a great company in terms of infrastructure, in terms of leadership, in terms of focusing on the hedgehog, which is the offering that's going to keep you growing your business, and also confronting the brutal facts. The brutal facts today are that most companies are not growing and not innovating their businesses because of fear, really. Because they're really, at many points, very hesitant to make moves in certain directions. This return-driven strategy framework, as Terry will explain in a moment, is something that can focus your organization on your customers' changing needs, find subtle ways to innovate the offerings to achieve growth strategies moving forward.